Welcome to another episode of tips and tricks to perform better and best in your university summative exams, especially for dental subject. This is your Professor Rooban providing you the next episodes of tips and tricks. Today's episode, we will concentrate on the evaluator's perspective so that you understand how the correction and evaluation performance occurs from an examiner's approach. Our present exam evaluation systems works or relies more on this examiner. So it is very important that you understand how these examiners evaluate your paper. How examiners read your answer sheet. It is common psychological established fact that the human eye is naturally drawn to certain points of interest from the field of vision. So in your paper on the screen, examiners rarely read every word. Instead, they scan, because the scan is an efficient evolutionary process, because they invest less amount of time and effort to gather more information. Look at this paper. The human eye is drawn to these factors, the underlining words, the flowchart rather than the words. So it is this factor, by a simple view of eye, the examiner understands what you want to convey. And this process is highly dependent on assumptions from previous experiences, how the examiner has been trained, how he has been exposed to screen viewing, how he has evaluated in the past, and the page layout, how you have designed your answer sheet, and the most importantly, your answers, the page content. So for this, the first two lines of or the paragraph, first important pages are most important, and you should lay the perfect trap, the perfect hook, so that the examiner gives you, the evaluator gives you the maximum mark. And to make this impressive, better start in paragraphs using subheadings, bullet points, keywords, underlining, highlighting, all should be embedded into this. And the best way I would suggest is, if you are so confident, use your images, schematics, flowcharts, so that right from the start, you begin to engage the examiner on a very positive note, in a confident manner. Now, you need to understand the difference between reading and scanning. Reading means going through the word or deciphering word by word of your answer sheet. And this process takes time, causes a screen fatigue in the examiner, needs more involvement, concentrations. And during this process, the examiner usually cannot be distracted. On the other hand, scanning, in the process, the examiner looks for important points that he wants to look. It is faster, there is less fatigue or literally no fatigue, very less involvement, and examiner can be distracted. This is the most important point. There is another psychological process called the skimming, the type of reading, which is quick and most of a pre-reading. There is not even word by word count, and it is essentially done to capture the essence or the central idea or the theme of your work. There is no reader expectation, because without any judgmental, you are being looked upon. Basically, from the skimming, the examiner will have minimum comprehension. Whereas scanning, we look for specific information. We look for your keywords as that in the exam answer key. We look for an answer in your sheet and focus on the lexis, how the word arrangement is there, how we compare with the key exam key, and we look for all important points. And we have a preconceived notion. We have been looking for the key in your answer sheet. In this process, the comprehension is sufficient to judge you, to give you marks. So instead of skimming, we rely on scanning than reading. So of the skimming, scanning, reading, on the screen, usually the examiner can give you best marks when he is drawn towards scanning rather than reading. So how do the examiners read? Usually there are a couple of ways by which they read. The common is the F or E pattern. First scanning vertically, then going through this. This is the usual. A vertical line down the left side, how we see how you have organized the page and see what are striking points. And when we see something is very catchy, then we start to read it, forming the horizontal lines. Whereas the spotted pattern, this is where your diagrams and flowcharts will help, because we look for, we get fixated to specific words or chunks of word in your answer, which has been highlighted by color pencils, different colors, what we call it as spot highlighting, and the visuality that you engage stand out in the text by using different colors, by using bold, capital letters, bulleted, list, etc. And together they give clue to the answer as well as reflect your mastery over the subject or the answer. Layer cake pattern, because it is fixated like layers of a cake arranged in an equal, boring, monotonous way. So very rarely students engage in this kind of presentations, and it necessitates the examiner to read the associated text. The key line is there, but that's not sufficient. The examiner is focused or rather forced to read all the lines. This approach will get you less mark. The exhaustive commitment pattern, too much of underlining, too much of bulleting, too much of diagrams, when the examiner or forces the examiner to read every word. This is akin to your traditional reading and will not be a scanning. So it is your capability to engage the examiner such that he does not engage in skimming nor in reading, but rather scanning, so that he is not forced to read word by word. The other interesting is the zigzag pattern, which is most possible in your paper rather than on your screen, where we don't have much to focus. A plain blank paper is like this. Just see there, finish it off. So an answer sheet has a visual hierarchy and design consideration under play. The presentation is how your answer sheet appears to evaluator, while the impression that you create is how you impress the evaluator to give you more marks, and organization is your structure and content of your answer. So this presentation, exam presentation, creates an impression in the mind of the evaluator, which could be positive or negative. They inform the evaluator on the level of knowledge on the topic. It subconsciously connects the evaluator and the student and guides the evaluator to give you better marks. While the content or your answer provides a situational awareness, and you have to maintain a consistency to create a sense of place and a scholarly outlook through which you can convey your mastery, connect with the evaluator, create an emotional impact, and convince him or her to give more marks. This can be done when you build up a unique personality through your answer sheet, so that the examiners engage with your answer sheet more and get convinced to give you more marks. The visual organization can be effectively portrayed with help of diagrams, schematics, flowcharts, mind maps, tabular columns, highlighting keywords, whereas the personality portrayal can be done by effective communication, written communication. The choice, where you place your diagrams, right? Right side, left side, center, the height, the legibility, the clarity, the color choice, the pattern selection, the priority of answering. All this makes or conveys your personality to the evaluator. So once we have this, we compare with our knowledge, and this difference, similarities and difference comparison is based on our knowledge, previous experience, the answer key that has been provided, our attitude to screen, and we come to a subconscious judgment. How much correct or wrong is your answer? And depending upon this assessment, we give you marks. So it is necessary that you understand the perception of visual information by visual contract, positioning, giving visual weights when and where needed. So you have to group together similarities of shape, size, color, so that the essay or short notes is better linked. There is a continuation and there is no gaps. So if there is gaps, you have to fill it up effectively in the answer itself. The visual hierarchy creates an interest to read more. It's attractive and grabs the attention of the evaluator, and can be restored only with a sense of order and balance, which in turn reflects your practice. The visual weight, the dominant image, gets noticed the most. So if you are using a dominant, very bold image, it should be flawless, perfect. If you are not sure, don't ever use this. Okay. The distinctive visual weight, the color choice, guides you through the narrative, keywords, highlighting, all these components to the contributes to the visual weight. So it is essential that you keep it balanced, not overdo it also. To summarize, the visual communication in your answer is part of your answer. The organization portrays your personality and mastery over the subject. And the hierarchy in which you organize your answer is a deliberate prioritization of the answer to the asked questions. The visual weight you employ helps you to connect and manipulate subconsciously the evaluator psychology in your favor. And the relationship which you create helps you to get more mark. As I always say, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, or relearn correct things. Stay connected with this channel to get more tips for effective presentation in university summative exams, mostly for the first year PDS. Learn one question a day. This is your Rooban Thavarajah signing out.